welcome to my home. Hello, hello, welcome to my home.
You have a beautiful home.
Thank you, thank you so much. Very nice to meet you. Thank you.
So, thank you for your kind welcoming.
Thank you very much. I go back into my home.
Thank you all for joining us this morning at this exciting event. And I would like to thank the residents of the Poe homes for welcoming us into their neighborhood. My name is Kristen Harbison, and it is my great pleasure and privilege to be the president of Poe Baltimore, the new nonprofit that has been formed to explore, to celebrate, and to protect the legacy of Edgar Allan Poe in Baltimore and beyond. And especially to open this house, this National Historic Landmark, to the public. Over the last year, Poe Baltimore has been hard at work preparing to reopen this house, the home of one of Baltimore's most famous residents, Edgar Allan Poe. Today we are proud to give you the first glimpse of the work that we've been doing, of this refreshed museum. Would the members of the board please stand and be recognized? Give a shout. There has never been a more talented, dedicated, and hard-working group of individuals, and as we move into the next chapter of the Poe House, you can be assured that with this board at the helm, the house is in very good hands. Of course, any effort of this kind relies on the contributions of countless friends and supporters. I would like to thank Free Fall Baltimore for the grant that will allow the doors to open every weekend this month for free, and PNC Bank for their sponsorship of their event this morning. Greenfield Nursery donated the beautiful mums. And of course, I would like to thank Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake and the City of Baltimore for their strong support and for their faithful stewardship of the Edgar Allan Poe House and our city's cultural history. Deputy Mayor Calliope Parthimos, the Departments of Planning, of Housing, of General Services, the Commission for Historical and Architectural Preservation, have all dedicated both time and resources to the Edgar Allan Poe House and to Poe Baltimore. Visit Baltimore and the Baltimore Office of Promotion of the Arts have both been invaluable partners, as has the library. We in Baltimore are very lucky to have such organizations so dedicated to the quality of life in our city and to showing visitors to our city all that we have to offer. If you have been to our website, www.poe.baltimore.org, you have seen the work of Digital Harbor High School and the Digital Harbor Foundation. If you haven't been, I highly recommend you check it out. It is beautiful. Our friends at GiveCorps have stepped up early to help us raise money in the essential work of fundraising for the sustained health of the house, and we are beyond grateful for their assistance. I'd like to recognize Councilman Welsh, who joined us from the City Council. Where'd he go? Following this program, you'll have the opportunity to see the extraordinary work of our partners at Baltimore Performance Kitchen. I would like, too, to recognize the efforts of Jeff Jerome, whose dedication to the legacy of Edgar Allan Poe and the Poe House behind me is unparalleled. No one has done more work to draw attention to the Poe legacy of Baltimore than its curator emeritus, and he continues to be a friend of the house and of Poe Baltimore. Courtney Wilson and the staff of the B&O Museum have been stalwart supporters, friends, and advisors as the board coalesced over the past year, and the superb staff of the museum have been invaluable in every aspect of the work done with this house. Kate Scher Adams has been an essential part of the team over the past 6 weeks, shepherding the board to this point, and collecting a dedicated team of volunteers. Finally, and most importantly, I would like to thank you for coming, for your interest, your passion, your dedication to the Edgar Allan Poe and to this house. This is a community effort, and it will succeed because of your passion and your support. As we move forward, we will be looking, of course, for your contributions of money, yes, but also of your ideas, your energy. We are the stewards of this house on your behalf, and it is a solemn responsibility. It was in this house where ideas and dreams, stories were dreamt and written, where the Poe family lived and loved, and where Edgar Allan Poe first found a home. It is our fervent wish that this house will continue to be a source of inspiration, of stories, of dreams, and of community. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Doreen Bolger, Executive Director of the Baltimore Museum of Art.
Thank you. Today we're celebrating the continued vitality of the Poe House and the stewardship of this great cultural treasure, historical treasure here in town, and those of you who've made the commitment to sustain it. And we're very grateful to Poe Baltimore for sticking that stake in the ground. And I'm very proud to say that now we can really say with truth, Poe belongs to Baltimore not because he died here and is buried here, but because he lived here and worked here. And this house becomes a symbol of that. This is the kind of moment that brings us together here in Baltimore, that really reminds us that there are forces that come together to make Baltimore one of the truly great cities in our nation. And I'm enough of a shameless cheerleader to say one of the greatest cities in the world. And I'm sure you all agree with me. We're very lucky. This is a city that embraces partnerships, appreciates history, art, and culture, and welcomes change and entrepreneurship. And Poe Baltimore and Poe himself represent that in a true way as one of our strengths. Poe himself is a magical ingredient in this stew. In a very special way, Edgar Allan Poe inspires and combines the personal and the universal, the historical and the forward-looking, the local and the global. Through his remarkable storytelling, Poe's odd and often tragic personal story opens up conversations about the most central shared life issues, about love and loss, fear and terror, madness and obsession. While these tales are set in the 19th century, we can mine their narrative threads and embroider our own present-day lives with the lessons that they teach. And he remains relevant today. There are times, I have to say, as I pick up the newspaper recently, where I think, did Poe write this news story? So he still has things to teach us. His legacy represents opportunities for us to examine the continued creative relevance of this wonderful American literary figure over nearly 2 centuries. Perhaps any more than any other literary figure in our history, Poe has inspired creativity across disciplines. He literally invented the detective story. He provoked films and theater performances. He inspired people to write music. And today's performance by the Baltimore Performance Kitchen will demonstrate how this continues today in our own city. He continues to remain an inspiration. He may be a local figure, but his appreciation is worldwide. It's a way in which our localness in Baltimore takes the international stage. In 2009, when Visit Baltimore organized Nevermore 2009, a citywide festival that celebrated his 200th birthday, I had the privilege of curating a show at the Baltimore Museum of Art where I work, and it explored his stories and his poems and how they were represented by artists worldwide. In independent works and in printed illustrations. And ironically, what I discovered was that Poe was greatly appreciated in Paris and New York almost before here in Charm City. And the BMA is just brimming with modernist works that were inspired by French artists in the 19th century and 20th century, by Edward Manet, Paul Gauguin, Aurore Redon, and Henri Matisse. The amazing book collections we have at the Enoch Pratt Library and at Hopkins University contain thousands of books that have been illustrated that he has inspired artists to do. Because he's still read and appreciated today, even internationally and nationally recognized American artists like Robert Motherwell and Jim Dine are continuing to be inspired by his work. So Poe's legacy becomes a metaphor for all of us today. There is much in this great city where we live that evokes admiration, even envy, all around the world. We're blessed to live in a city with so much to offer, and we should draw our energy and inspiration from this history and culture, especially as we kick off Free Fall Baltimore, another remarkable reason to be living in this city. It's now my pleasure to introduce the leader of our great city, Stephanie Rawlings Blake. I suspect that, as I did, she studied or experienced Poe early in life, certainly at Western High School, and I bet at Oberlin College. I love having a mayor with a great liberal arts education. Mayor since 2010. She's leading our city to the future through a forward-looking examination of our fiscal underpinnings, working hard to attract 10,000 new families to Baltimore. And I'm hoping that maybe one of those families raises a child like Edgar Allan Poe, so we have more great literary figures in the 21st century. So now, Mayor Rawlings-Blake.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is my pleasure to be here. Doreen, thank you very much for all of your hard work and leadership and being such a strong partner in the arts community. Good morning. I want to thank Courtney Wilson, Kristen. I want to thank you for your hard work. I want to thank the Baltimore National Heritage Area. I heard that Jeff Bouquet was here somewhere. It's like you're a chameleon. Every time I see you, you look different. Good to see you. And I want to thank Visit Baltimore. I want to thank Councilman Pete Welch for being here with us. Tom Stoser, who's in disguise as well, my Director of Planning. And I want to thank Jane Schaub and the members of the Board of Director of Poe Baltimore. I want to welcome you and thank all of you as we reopen the oldest and most historically significant house in which Edgar Allan Poe lived. And this place has significance to me on many different levels. Yes, as Doreen mentioned, as many of you, I studied Poe certainly at Western High School, but the name itself, Poe, rings true to me and is in my heart for other reasons as well. And I want to thank the residents, some of the residents here from the Poe homes, because that was the place where my father grew up, right down the street in the Poe homes. And this neighborhood and this community has a special place in my heart, and I'm so pleased that the lovers of Edgar Allan Poe from around this city, state, and the world are making sure that his legacy is preserved in partnership. And that's one of the things that I love about Baltimore, the quirkiness and the fun part of Baltimore. We have Edgar Allan Poe, we have a raven and cognac, all before noon. So, good stuff. So as I mentioned, as Doreen mentioned, no city has a stronger connection to Edgar Allan Poe than Baltimore. He's buried here, he lived here, he even claimed to have been born here, and thousands of visitors from around the world come each year to Baltimore to see this house. And with its reopening, we're giving the people a chance to walk, think, and dream in the same space that Edgar Allan Poe hosted. That he lived in it, that has hosted people for 180 years ago. Baltimore, he was known, yes, for his writing, but also, for the relationships that he had with people in the city at that time. So it is, I think, a fitting tribute to be able to continue that legacy. This is an exciting time for Baltimore, and I want to again thank all of the lovers of Poe in Baltimore's history for working in partnership to make this happen. Part of the new normal in our country today is finding new ways of doing things, finding new ways to create partnerships so the city and organizations and individuals can work together to preserve legacies. And because we know in this new normal after the Great Recession, city government cannot do it all alone. And when the conversation about how we would preserve and continue the legacy of Poe started, and we started to hear from people not just in Baltimore and in Maryland, but literally all over the world who have a deep and abiding appreciation for Poe and what he means in literary history. I knew at that point we would get that critical mass. We would get that concentration of support that we would need in order to preserve this legacy. And I'm proud to stand here as we embark on this new partnership and a new chapter for Edgar Allan Poe. So again, Kristen, I want to thank you and all your board members, and thank you all for being here. And I think we're about to do our toast. All righty. Thank you. So, and do you want to do one first or me first?
All you.
All right. So in honor of the former Poe toaster and Poe himself, I'd like to raise a glass of Martell Cognac to Poe, to honor him and the Poe enthusiasm in Baltimore and around the world. To Poe, as we stand in front of the house where he once lived, wrote, and loved. Thank you. All right, so now we have the symbolic passing of Poe from the city of Baltimore to Poe Baltimore Incorporated, and your very able representative. You don't know how hard I had to fight to make this a stuffed raven and not a real one. I'm telling you, the Poe enthusiasts they were very insistent, but I didn't trust the little bird. So this one I trust. So with this, I pass the Poe House from the city of Baltimore to Poe Baltimore Incorporated. God bless you and thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. At this time, I'd like to invite everybody to enjoy some refreshments in the back. I'll be taking the mayor through the house, and then in about a little bit, the house will be open for tours, and we welcome you inside to take a look at what we've been up to for the last year. Also, we have Mr. Poe is here to engage with you a little bit and talk to you a little bit. So, thank you very much for coming.
This is great.
Top of the morning to you, Baltimore. We're here at the Poe House, and I'm here with Kristen Harbison, who is the president of Poe Baltimore. Thank you for talking with us. Can you tell us a little bit about Poe Baltimore?
Sure. We are the brand new nonprofit. We were formed with the mission of protecting, exploring, and celebrating the legacy of Edgar Allan Poe, not only at the Edgar Allan Poe House behind me, but also in Baltimore and beyond. His legacy is phenomenal in art, in literature, in music, in everywhere. So, but the house obviously is our heartbeat, our telltale heartbeat, as it were. And so that is. But we are brand new, and we've been formed over the last about 16 months, and this is our debut event. It's especially exciting to see all these people here going into the house for the first time. The exhibits have been refreshed, they've been updated to reflect our broader mission of not just Edgar Allan Poe in Baltimore itself, but the broader mission of Edgar Allan Poe in Baltimore. And so these are brand new exhibits, and the people who are going in behind us are seeing the house for the first time, are some of our very first visitors.
And in addition to the house, are there any artifacts on display that were actually used by?
Absolutely. We have, my favorite is the traveling writing desk. It's very typical of 19th century writing desks. I have one very similar to it at home, but this one is special because this one belonged to Edgar Allan Poe. We have a chair, so you can imagine him sitting in the chair with the writing desk on his lap, writing MS in a Bottle, which was one of his first writings, which was written while he was in this house.
Wow. Wow. And do we know what other of his works were written here?
Oh, there are several, and we've got a list of them written through on exhibit in the house. But this was the first place that he really considered to be home. He had a very troubled youth. He had a very troubled childhood. Everybody that was close to him died while he was very young, and he traveled all over the eastern seaboard. And it wasn't really until he moved in with his aunt at what then was number 3 Amity Street, it's now 203 North Amity Street, that he really felt at home. This is where he lived with his cousin, who he would later become his wife.
Mm-hmm. And what can Baltimoreans and other people who are interested in Edgar Allan Poe do to help out with the efforts of Poe Baltimore?
Well, now that we've got the house open for weekends in October, thanks to a grant from Free Fall Baltimore, now the hard work really starts, the very important work of fundraising. You can visit us on our website, poe.baltimore.org. You can contribute directly through our website. You can have, and we also have a Give Corps campaign, which we'll be promoting again through our website, that they've committed to helping us raise up to $25,000 or more to help with the sustained health of the house. But beyond money, we're also looking for volunteers, we're looking for ideas, we're looking for people's stories. We're looking to build the community of Edgar Allan Poe enthusiasts who are all over the world. And we want you to come here, we want you to talk with us.
Okay. To work with you, how would they get in touch with you?
You can sign up through our website, www.poe.baltimore.org. You can also reach us by email at poebaltimore@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on Facebook. We are in both places, Poe Baltimore.
And I see you have a gift shop here at the house?
Of course we do. We have all kinds of little things that you can buy, both Poe related and Poe Baltimore related. So if you want your Poe propaganda, we can help you out with that. We have our one of my favorites is our little buttons. The
that
Poe
is
Baltimore
nice.
buttons.
Wow.
Which we are.
I want one of those.
Aren't they beautiful?
Yes.
It's got our brand new logo. And it was a way for you to wear your Baltimore and Poe Baltimore pride.
Is anything else you'd like to say to the people here?
Well, I'd like to thank you for having me on with you, and thank you for your interest in Poe, and come and see us.
Thank you for taking your time on such an important day as this to talk with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'm here with Doreen Bolter, who is the director of the Baltimore Museum of Art. Good afternoon.
Here.
Yeah, isn't this a great day?
It's fantastic to be here on this beautiful day and see so many different people from different parts of the city and the city's cultural and historical organizations and the community here together.
Yes, it is. And is the Baltimore Museum of Art involved in any way with the Poe House effort?
Well, we're not directly involved with the Poe House effort, but we are admirers of Poe. We participated in Nevermore 2009, which was organized by Visit Baltimore and which raised, I think, the citywide awareness of how important Poe is to our history.
And can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, we had an exhibition at the museum that featured images of Poe, portraits of Poe, as well as illustrations of his story and different works of art that were inspired by his writings. And a very active programming attached to that took up topics around, but for example, one of the categories of the exhibition were love and loss, madness and obsession, fear and terror. So we, under the obsession category, we had a public program on addiction, and a full house audience gathered to talk about that contemporary topic inspired by what Poe had written.
And you're participating today not just as a visitor, but as a speaker.
Yes, I think I was invited because I'm passionate about Poe and his importance to Baltimore and the ways in which he will continue to inspire us in the future.
All right, well, thanks very much for taking the time to speak with us.
This was really fun, and thank you for covering it.
And here I am now with Courtney Wilson, who's the executive director of the B&O Railway Museum in Baltimore. And you're also on the board of Poe Baltimore, is that right?
I am as of yesterday.
Great, great. And is there a relationship between the B&O and Poe Baltimore?
Absolutely, we're best neighbors ever, right down the street. And actually, historically, Edgar took a train trip from the location of the museum out to Ellicott City to visit with his friend John Pendleton Kennedy in 1833.
Mm-hmm. And he probably rode the rails many other times that aren't documented,
No
right?
doubt about it.
Yeah.
In fact, he was taking a train back to New York from Richmond when he was found in Baltimore and ultimately died.
Great. And how many people do you have on an average weekend at the B&O?
At the B&O, gosh, we'll have anywhere from 600 to 800 people come through.
Wow. And you think a lot of those will be coming over here to the Poe House?
We're going to promote the Poe House very heavily and hope that our visitors who come from around the world will take the time to come over and see this.
Great. And how far is it from here?
It's literally 6 blocks away, 6 blocks north.
Great. And what was your involvement with the efforts to get the Poe House back open?
Well, I like to call the B&O Museum a midwife on this project because we were actually hired by the city of Baltimore to create the new nonprofit to redo the interior of the house, design exhibits, and help get the house reopened. And that's what we've been doing for the past year.
And how can people help with these efforts?
Well, the house is going to be open thanks to a grant from Free Fall Baltimore through the month of October. And then Poe Baltimore needs to go out and raise significant funding so that they can become a sustainable organization in the city. And I'm going to help them do that. Everyone needs to help them do that. Donations can be made on the website, which is www.poe.baltimore.org. And of course, there's a mailing address there and things for checks. And we'll be doing fundraisers. We'll be doing some events around town, and all that's going to go toward keeping the house open.
Okay, and a little while ago we witnessed the symbolic passing of the raven from the mayor of Baltimore to Poe Baltimore.
I happen to have that very famous raven right here in my hand.
Yes, very nice, very nice.
For years, For years, the city of Baltimore, 30 years, operated this house. And because of budgetary constraints, the city made a decision last year about this time that they could no longer sustain the operation of the house. And that's how all this got started. And it's just been a labor of love for us at the B&O, and it's been a labor of love for the city. And we work together hand in hand to create this new, grand, reinvented and reimagined attraction for Baltimore.
And how do you feel about how things went today?
It was a perfect day, weather, sun. Maybe it would have been better. Turnout was terrific. Maybe it would have been better on a cloudy day with thunder and lightning in the background.
Yeah.
But just the same, it was a wonderful, wonderful ceremonial morning.
Great. Well, thanks a lot for taking your time at a busy moment like this to talk with us.
Thanks for coming by today.
Yep.